Hi, I'm Chris from Future Music. We're here at NAMM 2014. I'm here with Gannon and the Apollo Twin from Universal Audio. He's going to do a brief presentation talking about the new product and showing off what it can do.
All right, Apollo Twin, here we go. This is our big news for NAMM 2014. This is the newest member of the Apollo family, and this is actually very much in line with its Apollo big brothers. It uses exactly the same microphone preamps, conversion, and digitally controlled monitor section as the Apollo Quad and Apollo 16. We say class-leading audio quality, and it runs real-time UAD plugins just like its big brothers. This features high-speed Thunderbolt connectivity. And another big product release for us at NAMM 2014 is Unison Microphone Preamp technology, which I'll talk about in just a minute. First of all, I just wanted to talk a bit about the industrial design. This is a gorgeous unit here. The top is made out of a single piece of extruded aluminum that is then machined and bead blasted and anodized and turned into just a gorgeous feeling piece. It weighs a little bit over 2.5 pounds. All of the switches are custom made. The Lexan is completely enclosed, so none of this is exposed, and the light pipes are gorgeous. This is what we call a legendary sound of an analog studio on your desktop. And the way we're able to say that is because we have class-leading audio specifications. This is exactly the same specs as Apollo and Apollo 16. Same converters, same microphone preamps, and the same digitally controlled monitor section. So we have the best specifications of any desktop audio interface in the market. It's a 2x6, so we have two microphone inputs, and they're switchable to line, and 6 outputs. So we have the 2 monitor control outputs and then an additional pair of analog outputs that can be used to drive a separate monitor section or another piece of analog gear should you need. On the front, we have a dedicated guitar high Z input and your headphone outputs. So everything is very logically placed, very comfortable to get to, and very easily controlled. On the surface, let's just go through the features here. This is the level and selector function, so this allows you to switch between your channels on the microphone preamp and control all of the gains on the output section and other parameters of the control surface. Here's monitoring, so we have your output monitoring for your speakers, headphone, switchable output there. When you select a preamp over here, this switches between channel 1 and channel 2. It takes all of the preamp controls with it, so these have dedicated switches for all of the preamp indications that you need. Let's see, we'll go back to the back panel one more time. I wanted to mention this is Thunderbolt connectivity, so a single cable carries all of your audio, and we're using PCIe audio drivers with this release, as well as the PCIe drivers for the UAD DSPs. We have a locking 12-volt connector here, so you put this in and lock it so that you'll never have your power connector come off. And then there's a switchable optical input that has ADAT or SPDIF functions. So very, very tight, very clean setup. Our other big announcement at 2014 NAMM is Unison Mic Preamp technology. So I want to take you through that. Unison Mic Preamp technology is the first time in an audio interface that classic tube and transformer-based microphone preamps can be modeled. And we do this in a very unique way because we have the control over our digitally controlled analog preamps in Apollo and Apollo Twin from a plugin. So what that means is that the plugin does all the DSP modeling. We model the tubes, the transformers, the amplifiers, all of the wonderful nonlinear characteristics are very carefully captured in DSP, and that DSP plugin also talks to the hardware. So on the front end, prior to ADD conversion, we're able to change the impedance and the gain staging of the physical microphone preamp. So the impedance loading on the microphone is carefully represented for what the original hardware did. So as you increase the impedance, the microphone gets brighter, it gets louder. All of those characteristics are very meticulously reproduced via Unison. Our first Unison microphone preamp is the UA610B, and I want to show you a little bit about this. So here it is. In our interface now, we have a new slot that's called the preamp slot, and that is the place where only Unison plugins can be expressed. When on the Apollo Twin, when you press and hold the level button for 2 seconds, you'll see a red dot appear at the top of the gain staging. So now I'm actually able to control the gain from the Apollo, and then when I press that again, I switch down to the level control, and then I switch down to the actual output of the plugin. So you can control all of the parameters of the plugin directly from the interface, or you can control them from the software interface here, and they're updated on the hardware at the same time. So we call that bidirectional control, and it's real-time control over the hardware preamps as well as the DSP. So yeah. We're also able to correctly model all of the other components of the 610. For example, the equalizer, and with the switchable bands of the equalizer. Here's the impedance control from 500 to 2K. So these are all the actual controls that you find on the 610 hardware. It's a wonderful way of bringing the classic analog microphone preamps to the desktop.
Okay, so we've just seen your presentation of the Apollo Twin. I thought I'd dive in and ask you a few questions about it.
Go.
Specifically, Thunderbolt and Windows support. I mean, the Apollo and stuff doesn't support Windows, am I right in saying?
The Apollo supports Windows over FireWire.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is a Mac-only device?
This is a Mac-only device, yes.
Tell us about why you made that decision at Universal Audio, because, I mean, there's a big group of Windows users, I'm sure, that will be asking this question.
That's true. Well, Thunderbolt has yet to become ubiquitous on Windows machines, so there are no Microsoft released drivers with any of the standard machines. So even though we're seeing the HP machines and the Asus motherboards come out with Thunderbolt ports on them, we don't have a blessed Microsoft driver that we can just attach to. So at this time, we don't have a Windows announcement for Thunderbolt.
But that means that it is could be a firmware upgrade. It could be something that comes in the future, or
it could be. We're not going to promise that,
no.
And we can't really talk about that.
But in terms of the hardware technology, it's there in there.
Oh yes.
It's to do with third parties, not with your product.
That's right. That's right.
And tell us about why you made this decision, because this is it's a new step for Universal Audio, going to sort of a more mass market device, I guess, with it being smaller. It's not a rack mount device, it's a desktop device. Tell us about why you made that decision.
Well, a lot of our users were asking for something that's more portable. So yes, you're right that the desktop market and the sort of the downscale market is interested in getting onto our platform at a lower entry price and having all of the Universal Audio plugins available. But also, more of our professional users are saying, I want my Apollo, but I don't want to take it on the road. So this form factor gives you all the functionality of Apollo Quad and Apollo Duo just in a smaller package. So if somebody's on the road mixing or wanting to track or whatever their needs are, this fits a lot of people's needs.
And can you chain this still? So if you had this and the Apollo, you went out on the road with this, could you plug this in and have the extra DSP power?
Not at the release. Multi-unit functionality is coming later this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another thing I always ask this every year now, synths, DSP synths, are we ever going to see that from Universal Audio?
Well, I can't talk about future products, but it's definitely something that we hear a lot about.
Because you must get asked that by users all the time as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You know, our good story there is that all of the soft synths that you have right now, you can use the virtual inputs in the console and fire them through and use our plugins to monitor with low latency, and especially with the Thunderbolt drivers.
And with that in mind, it seems like the Universal Console could become its own door as well.
It could be.
Okay. So
good question.
Tell us about pricing for this and when people can get their hands on it.
Well, the good thing is that it is now shipping. So we're going to talk about this. We're debuting it at NAMM, and the first time we announce it, it will be in the stores, on display, and available for purchase. There are two versions of Apollo Twin. There's the Apollo Twin Solo, which has one DSP for $699 MAP, and the Apollo Twin Duo, which has two DSPs for $899 MAP.
And that's dollars?
That's dollars, yes.
Do you know euro pricings at all?
I don't know the euro price, I'm sorry.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thanks for showing it to us. Really appreciate you coming by.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.